Technology in African mining is moving at a rate of knots. From automation and robotics to artificial intelligence and digital twins, technology is rapidly advancing exploration, productivity, health and safety, ESG best practice, and increased mine life. Hello, and welcome to this webinar on Tech Talk, Creating the Mine of the Future, proudly sponsored by BME, a division of the Omnia Group, and the Council for Geoscience. My name is Gerard Peter, and I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Mining Review Africa, and I will be your moderator today. Over the next hour, we will unpack how technology is reshaping the African mining landscape. We'll be touching on current tech trends, including how it is optimizing exploration, blasting, and ensuring sustainable operations. Now, joining me today for today's discussion are Nishen Hariparsad, who's the General Manager of Technology and Marketing at BME, a division of the Omnia Group, Clement Ndou, a scientist at the Council for Geoscience, and Bokang Kalepa, Chief Growth Officer at Baletsema Holdings. Gents, thank you very much for joining me today. Now, before we go on with the discussion, a reminder to you, the audience, that you can also be part of this conversation. Simply pop your question into the comment box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will get one of our panelists to answer it for you. If we run out of time, those questions will be sent to the relevant panelists, and we will then correspond with an answer via email. Right, let's get on with the discussion. And Bokang, I want to start with you. You know, it is often said that there's a resistance to change when it comes to the mining sector. But since 2020, technology has rapidly taken off in our sector, and mining is fully embracing technology. What is driving this?
Look, there's so many things at this moment that are currently driving this, and we saw this certain change. Thank you a lot again, Gerard. We saw this certain change and the requirement for change during COVID. But then ever since then, you really see that people are really now pushing for efficiencies and also the data-driven decisions. And more than anything else, you also have to look at safety. We're looking at what is happening now. The industry is hungry for zero harm. We've been hungry for it for so many years, I won't lie to you. I mean, since I started my career over 20 years ago, we've been talking about zero harm, zero harm, zero harm. And we really got excited as South Africa, if you look at it last year, that we're not yet there, but we only had 41 fatalities. So we really were hoping that, we really get close to that. And one of the things that's really going to be pushing the need for this technology is safety. There's other benefits. So efficiencies will help you a lot, the data-driven decisions, your increased accommodation of women in mining, and then also being able to mine in more dangerous zones and go deeper. And if you're looking at your gold, it's now deep-seated. If you look at the gold reserves that you still have generally in South Africa, now you have to go what you call kilometers and kilometers vertically down. But the main thing that really sits in the middle of it all, whether you're talking about WIM, whether you're talking about mining in more dangerous zone or your efficiencies and data-driven decisions, the key thing thereof is really safety, Gerard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to touch on safety with you and Nishen a little later on in this discussion. But just to lead on from that question, Bokang, and if you can answer very quickly, what are some of the trends that you're picking up with regards to technology and innovations that are being introduced into the mining sector?
So you see a lot of automation where basically you get one machine or a couple of machines being driven by one person, and you find operational centers. In South Africa, if you look at us at this moment, where we're standing at the moment, operational center is still within the same yard from where basically you're operating. So meaning that you can be in the same control room as the mine. Whilst if you look at other countries, let's talk about Australia in this sense, they'll talk about the operational centers, where basically you can be on one side of the country while you're operating the other side of the country. And I've said this before, that mining, we're the second to be first, if I can call it that, in a sense that most of the technology that you are currently applying, they're already there in place. All that you have to do is to just take them and contextualize them. Sending a missile, I mean, we'll talk about the current war between Iran, Israel, and South Africa. That missile, it's being operated by a person who's very far, whether they are centered in the US or in Israel or Spain, if they do get it right with Spain. At the end of the day, it's that person is not necessarily there. So it's the same thing that we can be doing with technology. You don't need to be operating a machine while you are exactly in the immediate vicinity of the machine. You can be anywhere else. So that drive is coming in, and it's coming in very well. If you look at the current incidents that are happening, we still have the Lily mine, where there's still 3 operators that are basically the main operators that are still stuck there to this day. Could we have done it differently if maybe those people are operating from home? Could they have been placed in an area where it can collapse because of the safety pillar that crashes or something like that? Not necessarily. So it still goes back to exactly to say safety. Let it be the main thing that is driving all the changes. So you really look into that the remote operation of the mine. That's where we're going. But it's a roadmap. I spoke about the roadmap the last time we were talking, to say you have to be making sure that it's a just transition, in the sense that you're gonna start and say, first you're going to train our people. Secondly, then you'll get to a point where we're saying, okay, slowly we're phasing out certain machinery, and then some of the machines will be so it will be a hybrid environment where some of the machines will be automated, other areas will be automated, and some will still be in a manual way. But then as the future goes on, we can find ourselves where we've got a completely automated mine, and that you don't need to necessarily run it within the immediate vicinity. You can be anywhere else. So that's where the future is heading, and the future can be any time from now. It's already happening. There are mines that are already 100% automated. So the future can be now, and the way things are quickly moving now, they move in a compounded movement. It's no longer to say maybe in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10 years. Anything can happen within a very short space of time. New mines, modern mines that are coming, they can start being fully fledged, automated.
Okay, thank you for that, Bokang. Clement, are you back on screen? I understand you had some camera issues. Clement, are you there?
Yes, Gerard, I'm here. Thanks.
Okay, great stuff. No problem. Now, Clement, mining operation or mining activity, it all starts with the work that the Council for Geoscience is doing. Now, as a custodian of all geoscientific data in South Africa, what is the organization's approach to technology to ensure more accurate data sets?
Thank you, Gerard, and thank you for the question. So our approach generally as the Council for Geoscience is built on 3 pillars. So modern day data acquisition, data integration, and digital governance. So firstly, we have invested in modern technology for data acquisition, such as drone technology, digitized field data capture, as well as high-resolution hyperspectral imaging system, where we have these quality control measures in place to improve accuracy at the source where you are capturing these data sets. And secondly, through our digital geoscience portal, which is available on our website, we have integrated various data sets. That is your geology, geophysics, geochemistry, hydrogeology, and other data sets into a unified platform. So here, the accuracy actually improves significantly because all these different data sets validate each other. And lastly, we are in the process of centralizing our national geoscience repositories. That is for us to be able to eliminate the fragmented legacy systems where you have one data set, a database sitting in one place and the other one sitting in another place, and they're actually not communicating to each other. So this will ensure that we have consistent metadata standards, will improve our version control as well as traceability of the data. Thanks.
Thank you, Clement. And I want to unpack your virtual core library a little bit later. But let me bring Nishen into the conversation right now. Now, Nishen, no doubt blasting has an impact on operations, the environment, and even communities. Talk to me about how is BME using technology to create more sustainable and environmentally friendly blasting solutions?
Thanks for the question, Gerard. Let me start by saying that, for the benefit of the audience, that explosives play a significant role in the mining industry and is one of the most cost-effective solutions for breaking rock. And if it's applied correctly, can deliver significant environmental, operational, and efficiency benefits. This, in our eyes, embraces the concept of positive disruption, whereby we prioritize responsible and sustainable solutions in breaking rock. And if I can give an example, our premium electronic initiation system, Access,
Yeah.
it has been unlocking new efficiencies and lowering environmental footprints at mining sites across the world. And if we consider, for example, fragmentation, right, through controlled blasting, the precision and accuracy that the Access system provides, fragmentation results can be targeted to deliver expected results and predictable outcomes. Right? This alone is a fundamental benefit, to our customers, in that the benefit results in more efficient excavation, improved shovel and loading rates, increased mill throughputs, reduced crusher downtimes, and of course, reduced reliance on and dependency on diesel power generators. Now, these are just some of the downstream benefits that the use of new technologies are delivering value beyond just the drill and blast cycle in mining. And of course, these are helping our customers unlock new efficiencies and using new technology to create more sustainable and environmentally friendly blasting solutions.
Great stuff. Thank you for that, Nishen. I just want to follow up with a question to you. Talk to me about the company's approach to R&D. How do you incorporate the feedback that you get from your clients to ensure that you continue to advance your technological solutions?
Yeah, so BME is a division of the Omnia Group, and our vision is our mission statement is innovating to enhance life, delivering a greener future. Now, on that, if you look at BME's approach to R&D, it is driven by our customers. It's driven by the environment in which we operate, and it's driven by the market. You see, we've evolved from being a fit-for-purpose provider into a future-fit provider of solutions, thereby using technology as an enabler for sustainable solutions. You see, as a service provider in the mining industry, we are in a unique position to demonstrate that sustainability is neither an empty buzzword, nor is it a grim responsibility that cuts into profit margins. Now, we all know that efficiency and productivity is the main force behind a winning strategy. But we also know that the parameters of an efficient operation are shifting with the arrival of new technologies. Right? Thus, in our view, technology provides a very sturdy path through turbulent markets. And these turbulent markets, these market fluctuations, these commodity pressures, electricity and utility cost increases are pains that our customers have to contend with, which is why we at BME, we contend that our customers' pains are our pain. Right? Mm-hmm. Therefore, we have developed several solutions that talk to these issues, that talk to lowering of energy consumption, that enhances recycling and circularity through the use of waste oils, for example, that talks to removal of nitrates from emulsion systems or the reduction of emissions, right? And these implemented systems only come about from listening to our customers and our clients. And by listening to our clients, it allows us to focus our R&D efforts to deliver substantial benefits in efficiency, safety, productivity, and sustainability that our customers are challenged with.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Nishen. Clement, I want to bring you back into the conversation right now. Now, obviously, mapping is very important to unleash mineral potential that lies in the ground. Now, my understanding is that the CGS now maps on a much finer scale of 1 is to 50,000. Talk to me how this has improved your data sets, and how is it also helping to unlock what the world is terming critical minerals potential, such as lithium, manganese, etc., in South Africa?
Thank you once again, Gerard, for the question. So when we started the integrated multidisciplinary mapping program, which we termed the IMMP, that was about 8 to 9 years ago. So only 4% of South Africa was mapped at a scale of 1 is to 50,000. With most of our geological understanding obviously being based on the 1 is to 250,000 maps that we've covered 100% of the country. So those are, I'd say, useful for understanding regional context, but they're not detailed enough to support modern mineral exploration programs. I will explain why that is, but let me first mention this as well. Through the IMMP, which integrates data sets from our key thematic areas, such as your minerals and energy, environmental and water, land use and infrastructure development, we've increased the 1 is to 50,000 coverage to about 20% to date. So if you look at that, it's over a 5-fold increase in high resolution geological data sets. So this is important because the majority of our near surface deposits have already been discovered here in South Africa. So new discoveries are becoming more complex and deeper in terms of the extent and geological settings. So this high resolution data set allows us to build better mineral systems models. They also help us understand how mineralization forms, where exploration should actually be focused in terms of the areas that we are seeing promising results. So ultimately, this supports also our ambitions of growing South Africa's share of the global exploration expenditure to about 5%, while also aligning with the DMPR's National Exploration Strategy, as well as the critical mineral strategy that was recently agreed upon during the G20 summit. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for that, Clement. Bokang, over the last few years, there's been lots of talk around one word, and that's data. And that is predicted to be the future of mining. Just unpack for me the whole concept of data collection in a mining operation and how this enhances productivity and as well as safety.
So there are multiple KPIs that we track when we're in the mines, and when you talk about safety, you'll talk about your fatality and your LTI frequency rates, and your medical treatment frequency rates. You further now, if you take it to production as well, you can even now, with the data that you get now, you can even now log it accordingly. And then with those kind of things, you're able to get forecast to say where we're heading. And like you're asking in terms of safety, it's easy for you to say with this trend that we are going with more accuracy, we can even say where we're heading, what's going to happen if we don't change the things that we are currently doing in terms of the trajectory. So that has really improved a lot. We moved from just using your Excel-based. I mean, initially we just used to use the Excel-based material, but then in no way I can't actually even mention the programs that you're currently using because it will be an indirect advert to that. But then the softwares that you are currently using, they are really much, much improved. Call them almost your ChatGPT of the mines, that you even get more insights than we used to get in the past. And now we are being even more deliberate in terms of the data that you're collecting, because of now there's more ways and better ways of storing it. I mean, one of the challenges that we used to have, Gerard, is to be able to provide the data when it is needed. Let's say your mine gets stopped for any reason, and then the inspectorate comes and they're looking for data. It used to be a bit of a problem because the data can be anywhere or locked in somebody's office. That person is sick, is in the office. But now we've moved to the cloud-based storages, where anyone and everyone can almost access, actually the ones that have got privileges, they can be able to to access the data and make more out of it. So one of the things that we're doing is to drill. And as we're drilling, I'm talking about your directional drilling, you're collecting data as you go. In the mines where we are privileged, that machine is already connected to the Wi-Fi. So meaning that there's instant sharing of the data. Otherwise, what you have to do is that when you go out, then you have to go out and then with the USB and then go and dump the material into whatever system or the cloud that the mine is using. And then they're able to integrate it and make them more use of it. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you for Bokang. Nishen, I want to bring you in on the same data topic. I mean, you have introduced a data-driven blasting approach. How does this ensure sustainable operations as well as enhance downstream opportunities?
Well, data is another buzzword, isn't it? Right? And from our perspective, it isn't about just gathering more data. It's about using that data to create a fully connected, autonomous, and auditable system. A system that closes the loop from the second we break ground in the pit to the final product at the plant. And in terms of data-driven mining, mining in our eyes is defined not by more data, but by smarter use of this data. You see, we acknowledge that mining has been evolving to improve its practice and has been exploring over the years many innovative ways to move forward. However, not all operations are equally as productive or efficient, which is why the use of digital technology and the capturing of data sets at various points in the mining cycle is one way that efficient mines are improving their productivity. And being able to access data and utilize that data accordingly, we see it's enabling miners to improve their working practices. At BME, we are conscious that without adopting digitalization, mines will find it harder to cut costs and improve productivity. And this goes both upstream or downstream of blasting. And the data that's extracted from digital blasting solutions, for example, allow mines to remotely access best methods of blasting and conducting them from a safe location. My colleague mentioned earlier about the incident at Kalepa mine. If we had the data to operate in a situation like that and had the opportunity to operate remotely and autonomously, who knows, we could have avoided that situation. So not only does data-driven blasting through electronic initiation system technology, example, save money or is a safer mechanism to blast, it also provides other benefits for our customers. It reduces downtime, reduces blast vibrations, it improves accuracy and fragmentation. And by adopting certain technologies, and again I'm going to talk about electronic initiation blasting, it is a mechanism on how to use data-driven blasting approaches which can deliver sustainable outcomes and improve downstream process. And the benefits are in safety, the benefits are in operational efficiency, and those benefits can be extended through the value chain just by adopting those technologies that are capturing this data. And again, I must emphasize, it is the intelligent use of this data that is very important, not just data for the sake of data.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nishen. You touched on something very interesting. You mentioned, reduction in cost. At the same time, implementing technologies such as automation, digitalization, wearable safety devices, etc., does come at a cost. Now, perhaps maybe the larger mines might be able to absorb this cost and see a return on investment later down the line. But how do junior miners balance the need for technology while at the same time still trying to run a profitable business?
I think from that perspective, it's very important that we understand the concept of value. You might find that offering a technology, for example, let's look at electronic initiation systems compared with non-electric initiation systems. Junior miners or miners that are currently challenged by costs often look at unit cost of product as opposed to total value down the value chain. And if you were to consider the impact of unit cost at a single point on your mining cycle versus the impact of a certain technology implemented over the total value chain, then you would see the difference that technology provides. Which is why it's very important that as service providers and as customers, when we talk to new technology, we have to be very conscious of the value it delivers. We have to be very conscious of how we position these technologies. Because often, when technologies are developed with a certain vision, a vision that's created at board level or at executive level. But the persons using those technologies, the persons using and adopting those technologies are on the bench or on the floor, right? So action and vision are not talking to each other. So it's very important that if we are to see true technology realize its value and achieve success from that, action and vision need to talk together, need to talk to each other. And technology, the impact that technology has on the value chain has to be shown and delivered across, right? For example, if we deliver on, for example, a blast using accuracy and precision, what that gives you is a predictable outcome. Having a predictable outcome is not just having a blast that delivers experimentation. Having a predictable outcome through technology like electronic initiation allows you to plan better, allows you to work on predictive maintenance, allows you to control your fragmentation through your crushers, allows you to control your energy consumption through your crushers, allows you to control your mill throughput. So the benefits are often not seen at the procurement stage. Benefits are seen through the value chain. Therefore, it's very important that as service providers and as miners, we understand the value technology has through its complete implementation across the entire value chain and not at the point of use. That's the only way action and vision can talk to each other. That's the only way the real value of technology can be seen.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Some of the audience might be seeing me moving from screen to screen. That's because I'm watching a flurry of questions that are coming through. There's still time for you to ask your question. Pop it in the comments box, and we'll try our best to get them answered by our panelists. Now, Clement, talking about database. Now, a few years ago, the CGS created a digital database which was freely available to the public. How is this helping to speed up exploration efforts in the country?
Thanks, Jared. This might sound a bit cliche, but in exploration, time is the most valuable commodity. So by providing access to these digital data sets that we do provide through our Geoscience portal, companies actually reap the benefit of reducing their desktop studies, early stage desktop studies, meaning that they can shift their resources to focus more on interpreting the data set that they got freely available, and they also avoid duplicating historical work. Some of the work that has been done, analytical works, has already been there, so they don't have to redo the same, especially that would be a benefit for also junior miners in particular. They can also rapidly assess the prospectivity of the area before committing capital. This lowers the risks that are often associated with greenfield exploration, and it also improves, the country's investment outlook in this regard. So ultimately, I would say the accessibility of these data sets aims to accelerate the decision makers.
Okay, thank you for that. Now I want to move on to a topic that everybody's talking about, and it's not just in the mining sector. I'm talking about AI, artificial intelligence. And I must tell you, as a journalist, I'm a bit concerned if I may have a job in the next few years at the rate that AI is advancing. Bokang, talk to me about the ever-increasing role of AI in mining and how it will benefit operations.
Okay, thanks a lot. I actually wanted to jump in when my colleague Nishen was basically talking about the affordability of this cost of implementing technology. Just to jump in terms of that, usually people think when we're saying you have to implement technology, it means you have to go and buy a brand new equipment. There are multiple things that can be done, and just basically to augment what is already existing. I mean, for example, when the law came heavy on us to say we have to implement the collision avoidance, what we call CAS level 9. When they said you must implement that's collision avoidance system level 9, where basically the machine can stop without any human intervention. When they said we must do that, a lot of people thought now we have to go and buy brand new machines and do that. Well, else there can just be a simple system that can be integrated on the machine without even it affecting your warranty of the machine, as it just sort of sits on the top and it doesn't really affect the warranties of that. So that's one of the ways that you can be doing it, for example. That's just one example. I'm sure there's a lot of technology that you can talk about that has to be implemented or that is getting implemented of late. You look at the cameras, your current cameras that you have in your minds, you can basically just get a software, and then that camera basically can be AI incorporated, and meaning that it can track multiple behaviors and you can get whatever that you want to get out of it. Because really, when it comes to that, the secret is now more on the software than it is on the hardware, provided it's just a good camera. So you don't necessarily have to go and now change the whole system that you currently have. It's just sometimes even just about upgrading. And then I was also thinking that some of the options you really don't have to buy. You can lease, you can rent, you can even outsource. You don't have to literally now have to sit with that whole capital cost yourself. And this is for the small players that say we cannot afford at the moment. And from there are cheaper options. When you say wearables, for example, in your connected mind, we're not saying that everyone must be wearing an Apple Watch or the latest Garmin Phoenix 8 or 9, whatever it is. Not necessarily. It doesn't really mean that. You can still go for the cheaper options, while obviously you're still upgrading to see what you can do. And then also we need to look at the prioritizing. You don't need to overhaul the whole mine and implement everything. What is it that is most important at the moment? And I can tell you at this moment, since like I said, the most important thing before even efficiencies is safety. How do you prioritize? But anyway, that's a whole boardroom discussion that people can have to say, what is it that is the most important at this moment? Whether it's going to be that, what you call your CAS level 9, or it's going to be your AI couple cameras, or whatever that's going to be helping your system. So very quite important. And then, yeah, I think you can quickly jump back to your question. I hope I answered it in some of the things that I've just spoken to now.
Sure, absolutely. Do you want to touch a little bit more about AI and how it will benefit the sector?
Yes, so I can't keep on overemphasizing it, Gerard. If you look at it from a safety point of view, it's really going to help us a lot. But what I love about it as well is that it accommodates various skill sets. For you to be able to work at the mines at this moment, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be having a mine manager certificate like me or mine captain's ticket and over so many years of experience and have mine there and whatever. With the skill set that is right, which is the technology at this moment, like operating a machine that is underground. That's why people look at it as sort of a PlayStations. I mean, literally those people that are operating joysticks while they're watching the screen. So it accommodates a lot of people. And I think also what I love about it is the fact that it can also accommodate your whim. I've spoken about how women's career used to be set back by them maybe falling pregnant, which is the nature that we really need. It needs to happen, but then when a woman goes on maternity leave, for the moment she announces that she's pregnant, she has to be out of work, and she has to be replaced or placed somewhere else just in the meantime. And it really set them back apart. We saw that happening to our colleagues, our female counterparts. I mean, I've seen it myself, and sometimes we think us as men, we are super good and everything, but you also realize that there are some things that do not set us back as much as women has, So it really goes a long way in that sense that you can have your woman who's going to be operating that machine continuously, despite whether they're pregnant or not pregnant, expecting or not expecting. I really love that about it. Your efficiencies, your data-driven decisions, before you can implement anything, you can basically be having decisions based on the data that we just spoke about, through the data collections that you go through. Your being able to mine in more dangerous places, it really goes a long way as well. So yeah, I think that's some of the things that you're really seeing on AI that are going to be benefiting us a lot. The incidents that we're currently having, our drive towards zero harm, technology will really help us a great deal. And without it affecting anyone badly, I have said, and I will keep on overemphasizing it to say, technology is not really meant to take your job away, but the one who uses technology is most likely the one who's going to be taking your job away. That understanding of technology allow for scalability and also, for work without borders. If you understand it, your work is really without borders, whether it's in South Africa or in a certain province or even global, your skills can be used anywhere else.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Bokang. Clement, if I can bring you into the conversation around AI, tell me, how is CGS using artificial intelligence to integrate and analyze geoscientific data?
Thanks once again, Jared. So from our side, most of the data processing software that we already use incorporate AI in some way or another, mainly through machine learning. So, for example, in the hyperspectral imaging analysis, we use the self-organizing maps, which is an unsupervised data clustering technique, which allows us to classify lithology and alteration zones objectively. This is quite an important step in core logging. If you take two geologists right now and you give them the same borehole, I can bet you that the outcome of those logs will be quite different from one another, because it's quite a subjective exercise. So with this, it's not aimed at replacing the geologists that are doing the logging, but its aim is to actually improve the accuracy and consistency of the core logging, where you have mineralogical data to help you better define your logs. So another software that we have is our own CGS developed Pygmy software, which runs on a Python framework and scripts. So this is mainly to model geophysics and remote sensing data, in that it assists us in pattern recognition from these data sets. So that really helps us detect some of those subtle anomalies that may not be visible through traditional interpretation. So in terms of research, CGS is also embarking on a research project where we are looking at the application of AI in some key areas like your groundwater studies. Here we're looking at using AI to model and predict groundwater quality and also groundwater potential, especially looking at the deep aquifers. Another area that we're also looking at is in the space of geohazards. Here we're looking at automating or automation of classification of the borehole data that we have, early warning systems for sinkholes and subsidence. With that, we want to use pattern recognition. And another area which is quite important as well is through our seismology department. They're also looking at tools to enhance seismic signals related to mining activity. That is specifically looking at health and safety as well as risk management. Thank you.
Thank you, Clement, for that. Nishen, if I can bring you in here, talk to me about how BME is using AI to advance your blasting solutions.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's to earlier point, is AI going to take over our jobs? It's I think AI, autonomy, automation is not going to replace our jobs. It's going to create more opportunities. But we have to be very conscious about how we embed AI, how we embed automation, how we embed autonomy. So, if you look at a drilling operator, what you're doing is with the adoption of automation and autonomy, you are removing him from the bench, but putting him into a air-conditioned office to operate that central rig. So if we if we as miners and as service providers to the mining industry are deliberate about our pathway for autonomy and are deliberate about how we embed autonomy and AI in the industry, we have to upskill those that we are moving away from the bench. Right? And at BME, what we've done is, I mean, we've partnered with an AI-enabled solution provider, offering a solution called the Explore Smart System. Right now, this system is built on integrity-first autonomy, which is not just a technical concept. For us, it is a shift in mindset. It's about building AI that doesn't just work, but works with traceability, safety, and explainability at its core. I mean, after all, what good is data if data cannot be relied upon, right? Our focus is on our customers' goals, and that being safer walls, steadier feed, lower energy per ton. And the use of our tools and product solutions ensures that the data that feeds into AI solutions are delivered as integrity-first outcomes, right? Because, and this is very important, because it needs to act as a safety envelope. It needs to deliver traceable decisions, and it needs to inform operator control, especially if we are trying to attempt linking every stage of the mining process. So what we've done is we've not just captured AI as a new buzzword, but we've rather prioritized traceability and auditability from the start so that engineers remain in control. And this data received with integrity can then be relied upon. And if our engineers are in control and we can understand where the data is coming from, why the AI tool made that decision, or what is the reason, what caused the respective outcome via the AI decision, this approach can advance blasting solutions, it can enhance advanced downstream value propositions, and it can quantify and be captured. Right? So empowering the boots on bench with effective data, integrity-driven data, allows for a safer operation, allows for more beneficial operation. And I must emphasize, the use of AI, the use of autonomy, the use of automation has to be in conjunction with person or persons who still remains in control.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Nishen. Clement, at the recent mining in Ndou, the CGS introduced its virtual core library. Now, my understanding is that the repository holds over 1 million cores that are being stored. Talk to me about how this process came about, how you are making the information digitally available, and what the benefit will be to exploration companies.
Thanks once again, Gerard. Yes, so you are telling the truth in that. So the National Core Library itself currently stores just over 1 million meters of drill core. So that's a lot of core right there. It's one of the most drill cores, in fact, in the continent. So these have been collected over the past 60 or so years. So the cores that we do currently store is either they were drilled by the council or they come from industry donations from the past extensive exploration projects. But we've come to learn that with physical access to this material, there's been constraints, some of them being the distance to the core library, logistical challenges with our stakeholders, weathering of the samples due to the time that it has been stored, continuous handling and storage, since we have to take the core out for most of our stakeholders. That is therefore limiting the optimal use of this data by our stakeholders. So in introducing the virtual core library, we wanted to address some of these challenges. So through this intervention, our stakeholders can now use a secure web-based viewer to browse, search, visually interrogate the drill core samples from multiple locations across South Africa with a limited need for physical access to the core library. And where that need does arise, at least the stakeholder now will have information beforehand of what they are looking for, and it makes it easy for our processes as well in terms of what do we take out due to the manual handling of these core materials. So the initiative itself aims to revitalize interest in underexplored regions, and for emerging explorers and junior mining companies in particular. So this platform will lower those barrier to entry by providing access to this high quality geological data set. For mining rights owners, so those who have mining rights, we have sort of like a comprehensive data set that integrates downhole geophysics, downhole geochemistry, with hyperspectral imaging data. So they are all plotted side by side, where you can then correlate for each interval of the depth of that particular drill hole. So the availability of these data sets offers an opportunity for these mining companies to reinterpret the legacy data. They can refine their exploration models. They can reduce the need for costly duplicate drilling. So those are just some of the benefits that the VCL will bring to the table in terms of the mining industry.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Clement. Just one more question for our panelists before we move on to the audience questions. And this one is for you, Nishen. You know, I was very interested to learn that you have pioneered innovations in used oil emulsions. How did this come about at BME, and how does it help your customers meet their ESG commitments?
Yeah, thanks, Gerard. So we've been around for well over 40 years, and through that period, we've always been conscious that a mine can only exist within the context of a community and an environment. Thus, in our eyes, there should be no difference between operating a mine for efficiency and operating a mine for sustainability. So the technology that we provide acutely respond to this. Now, at BME, we've developed an emulsion blasting system that uses one of the highest consumptions of waste oil in its fuel blend. And we use approximately some 30 million liters of waste oil every year. Now, that's 30 million liters of waste oil that's not going into our environment, that's not going down the drains, or not polluting our rivers and lakes and oceans, right? Now, with the application of this technology, BME not only prevents this potentially hazardous waste from entering our environment, but its consumption allows us to enable numerous community-based collection companies, like some owner-managed and other SMEs to thrive. So this provides jobs, organizational skills, development, business ownership, and governance acumen to hundreds of people across the SADC community. And this is a benefit to our customers. It's a benefit to the environment, and it's a benefit to the region in which we operate. And it further provides a direct influence in the mining sector towards ESG and sustainability. Right? So the use of used oil, for example, or waste oil, for example, emphasizes our active role in helping mining companies meet the ESG commitments. Not sure that answers your question. Gerard?
You are muted, Gerard. We can't hear you.
Isn't that an irony? A tech webinar where I can't use tech properly. Apologies for that. I want to move on to a couple of audience questions. So, Bokang, this one is for you. It says we can't talk about the mine of the future without talking about the people. When a haul truck becomes autonomous, what happens to the driver? How do we have an honest conversation with our workforce about moving forward from being an operator to becoming a fleet controller? How do we bring them on that journey without leaving people behind?
All right. Thanks a lot for that question. Very, very important, and I appreciate it. Like we said, it becomes a journey. The most important thing is to make sure that you don't leave people with. I mean, Nishen just responded to one of the questions now that talks about the research and development And also that it goes with the training and development as well. You cannot be leaving anyone behind. You need to train those people. So if you go to any mine, they've got sort of a roadmap in terms of their ambition when it comes to automation. And in that roadmap, it involves retraining the current people. And then also, if you now go further into your curriculum in terms of diversity, some of the skills that you guys are currently learning, if you're a student or you're still a freshly new graduate, some of the things that you guys learned or are still learning at this moment, they're totally different from what we learned. Meaning that it's going to be easy for you to incorporate this into your new workplace. And automation doesn't necessarily mean subtracting of people. There's so much that is running on the background, whether it's somebody who's working on the data that you spoke about, whether it's someone who is literally remote operating these machines. What this allows us to do, it allows us to be more efficient and more competitive. The margins can be very, very quite small, which threatens the profitability of a mineral. So if you're going to be talking about your geology or your mine design, it's very quite easy for you to find yourself mining at a loss. So we say, you know what, in this case, we're going to close down the mine. I mean, you look at Ekapa now, they say it's been closed. Who knows? Maybe with technology, we can say basically we can still go back and go mine this profitably. Just us being affected beyond by the what you call the commodity price, but also by the ease of access because of the technology that you are having. By that, you're going to be able to employ those who are making use of technology. And I keep on emphasizing this to say people who are using technology are going to take your job. If you are able to operate those machines well, good. If you are able to maintain the system that is running here, there has to be somebody maintaining this system. It's not just 5G. It goes even beyond that. There are sensors, multiple sensors that are running on those machines for it to be effective. And they keep on moving. They move with the peak. I mean, it doesn't mean that from now on, things are just going to be remote and no one is going to be working there. We are just changing the work spec. So the most important thing is that you also have to change yourself. You know, there has to be that self-transformation that is happening. So we're not saying we are cutting people's jobs. We're just scaling them up.
Absolutely. Nishen, I want to bring you into the conversation here. And I heard you say at Mining in Ndou 2024 that Africa needs to ensure that it attracts young people into the mining sector. Tell me about the role that technology can play in ensuring that we can attract a younger workforce. Because one of the most serious problems that the African mining sector faces is a skill shortage.
Thanks, Gerard. I forgot that I spoke about that. It's been such a long time ago. My thoughts on this are that the image and the perception of mining paints a very outdated view of mining. It's picturing dusty, dangerous, labor-intensive activities. But the reality, though, is so far from this. Mining has evolved to have adopted digital and autonomous operations, automation and AI, like we've spoken about, and it provides real-time solutions to complex problems. The mining industry has already adopted world-class innovations, and these are many innovations not just improve mining operation, but it improves sustainability and related challenges. Now, all of these investments in mining place data at the fingertips of the user and the miner. So this is very far from being outdated. This is very far from being dusty, and it's very far from any sort of labor intensity. And as an industry, I think we need to tie innovation in mining to the future needs of a cleaner, safer world. I could say. I mean, I think this would entice younger people or the younger generation with a view of how technology meets purpose, right? I think that would excite the next generation of engineers and safeguard both the innovation and the industry. We need to show that the mining industry is very far from that dusty environment that the guy carrying a axe on his back or something. Mining has evolved. I think mining has evolved into more of a digital space of material movement as opposed to just breaking rock.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And It's quite interesting. You mentioned how it's changed. Now, Clement, it's very much the same in the field of geology, etc. You're out there in the field, out there in the heat, doing your job. So, a question that's coming from the audience is, how is the Council for Geoscience preparing the next generation of geoscientists to work with advanced technologies?
Thanks, Gerard. So we have different interventions in terms of skills building and capacity building within the Council for Geosciences. So if you have been following us on the socials, you'll see that we did have a big recruitment drive with more opportunities still coming. In those, we are specifically targeting geoscientists and support staff that possesses skills such as your coding and the modeling. And internally, we also have interventions that we have in place, where in every quarter we host a knowledge sharing technical workshops. In fact, we have one happening tomorrow where seasoned scientists get to share the latest on their projects, what methodologies they've been using. So those are very insightful sessions that we host internally as the Council for Geoscience. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question that's coming for you, Nishen. I just need to pull it up very quickly. Where is it?
Let's move to the next.
Okay, Nishen, apologies for that. The question that's come in is, a few years ago at BME, we initiated some work to assure the inspectorate of using AI to do some predictions for safe blasting radius. Are there any developments on this?
There are developments, although traction is slow. But I would mention that, as service providers to the industry, we have a duty of care to work with our regulators, and helping our regulators understand the way technology is moving and the impact it has on blasting and in mining. Yes, there are developments. Traction is very slow, but the onus is on us. Right? The onus is on us to show that the beneficial use of AI, the beneficial use of new technologies, for example, has a say in the market, has a place in the market, and is real. Therefore, if our inspectorates and our regulators are there to buy in, it's us who needs to help them understand how to buy in. And if I can give you another example about technology but not related to AI. We have a stake in a company called Hypex Bio that delivers hydrogen peroxide-based explosives. Now, hydrogen peroxide-based explosives, by chemistry, cannot produce nitrates, right? So it has a fundamental environmental and safety benefit. It has a fundamental benefit to underground mines in terms of efficiency as well. But hydrogen peroxide emulsion has not been regulated as comparable with ammonium nitrate-based emulsions or explosives. And because it has not been regulated, it's up to us to help regulators and inspectors understand the benefits of these new technologies. Because we can't sit back and expect, here's the new technology, please approve. We have to show the market, we have to show the environment, we have to show regulators, we have to show those parties that are influential in new technologies or the adoption of new technologies, how to walk the journey. And I think it's going to take some time.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for that. We're almost out of time, and there's a flood of questions that have come through. So to our audience, we'll ensure that the necessary panelists gets the questions, and then they will provide an answer within the coming week. Now, before we come to the end of our discussion, I'd like to ask each of our panelists one final question. And I'll start with you, Bokang. What does the mine of the future look like?
For me, I just imagine the mine of the future being the ability to work from home or remotely. And maybe that's more the what you call a far-fetched thing. But now let's go maybe to the next 5 to 10 years. I see us making less use of overalls because obviously most of us will be operating in a way that we don't necessarily need to be at the pit unless it's for maintenance purposes. I see zero harm being possible. We are slowly getting close to it. The graph is telling the story, the trend is telling the story. We will get to that zero harm. I imagine myself as I drill in the exploration space or maybe doing whatever that I'll be doing for Council of Geoscience, for example, while I'm drilling, that information being shared instantly with not only, I mean, it's already there's a library there, but also with others as well. I see integrated systems. I see us, the mines already that are doing their own drilling. The Council of Geoscience is already also running its own initiatives in making sure that the country gets mapped beyond to the 20% that they're standing in. I mean, they're standing with to get their 1 to 50,000 clarity. I see that being integrated and almost instantly you being able to get the data to say at this certain place, what is it that we have at any point of time? I really see that happening at any point of time. I see increased employment in terms of skills globally because of now your employment from a competitive point of view is not just going to be in South Africa, it's going to be global. And I also see the connectivity from the face to the port and where necessary, like especially with diamonds, where you want to track that this diamond is authentic in these days of the lab-grown diamonds, all the way to the client as well, being able to connect with that. I really see that happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Bokang, for that. Clement, I want to ask you the same question, but also just for you to add on, talk to me about the role that, more accurate geoscientific data will play in creating this mine of the future that you envisage.
Thanks, Gerard. It's like me and Bokang were separated at birth because it's like we have the same dream of the mine of the future. But just to add to that, so the mine of the future obviously will be data-driven. With real-time data trickling in for quicker decision making, as well as being more safer through predictive hazard systems that AI will help us achieve. And they will be more efficient and sustainable through precise resource targeting that will also be environmentally friendly. And of course, institutions like the CGS will be providing the foundational geoscientific data to make this future possible.
Absolutely. Thank you. Finally, to you, Nishen. Obviously, blasting is quite a complex operation and has an impact, as I said earlier on, not just on operations, but on communities as well. So talk to me about the mine of the future in the way that you see it.
Yeah, I am firstly 100% aligned with my colleagues Clement and Bokang. But I guess it depends on how far into the future we want to go, right, Gerard? My view is that mining might not be defined by explosives, pits, plants, or haul trucks. It's going to be defined by conversations between a human and an intelligent system, a system that never sleeps. Mining will not be a story of equipment and services. And like I said, if it's going to be a story of relationships, it's going to be the relationship between humans and algorithms, relationships between mines and marketplaces, relationships between companies and regulators, relations between primary and secondary resources, and relationships between extraction and regeneration. And the mine of the future, I think business models that emerge from these relationships will shape the economics, the politics, and the sustainability of the materials world in the future. And I think that the mine of the future is evolving into a materials intelligence system, one that can be achieved by by consolidating resources, consolidating technologies, and for partnerships that work together in an ecosystem of interdependent technologies and solutions. We have these pockets of technologies, pockets of innovation all over the place, right? But it's all working in isolation. Once we get these partners to work together and develop an ecosystem of technologies, I think that a materials intelligence system will evolve and allow us to do more and more with less. I think that's where the mine of the future is going.
Absolutely. So we've actually run a few minutes over time, and I apologize to our audience for that. But when it comes to a topic like this, it also can be expected because the discussion can go on for even longer. So I'd like to say in closing, thank you to our panelists, Nishen Hariparsad, who's the General Manager of Technology and Marketing at BME, Clement Ndou, Scientist at the Council for Geoscience, and Bokang Kalepa, Chief Growth Officer at Baletsema Holdings. A special thank you also to our sponsors, BME, a division of the Omnia Group, and the Council for Geoscience. And just a final note to our audience, if you've missed any part of today's webinar, you can watch it on demand soon at miningreview.com. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.